Hello and welcome to the big game. I'm Richie Rolares alongside my partner Jordan Rheams, and on today's show, we'll see how the Lady Lions volleyball and soccer teams are progressing through the season.
And we'll also check in with the golf and tennis team.
But first, we'll take it to the gridiron with Southeastern football. Southeastern opened up its home schedule against the Northwestern State Demons, with both teams looking for their first wins of the season. Which team would finally chalk up a victory? Let's go to the highlights. Demons at the Lions in their home opener. Demons start out 6-0, but Allo throws a dart over the middle to Juwan Dickey, who washes away the Demons' lead with a spin cycle there into the end zone. Lions with the lead 7-6. Now, Lions offense out there itching to score. Allo's going to throw a beautiful rainbow to Acker, who finds the pot of gold at the end and scores. 14-6 Lions. Julius Marcelin would pound it into the end zone to make the score 14-6. Now Lions up, Demons knocking on the door. Blumenthal under pressure, going to try to get out of there, wishing he was a flash. He throws it up, and it is caught miraculously by the Lions defensive back, Javon Tillman, with the takeover to try and help the Lions offense get back on the field. Lions offense would punt, and running back Chris Jones from Northwestern State takes off. Looks like he could go all the way, but then Ryan Seegers from behind forces a fumble, and he recovers it too. What an effort by the guy. Now the Lions with another turnover. The Lions defense really taking advantage. Allo goes back on the attack. He throws a perfect pass into the end zone, both feet in bounds. A beautiful catch that would count in the NFL, by the way. Now, for Northwestern State, backup quarterback Brooks Hack says, hey, Allo's not the only one who can throw touchdowns. He throws a dime right there on the corner, gets the touchdown. A little confusion there, but they called him in. Northwestern State back in the game, and Brooks Hack again saying, hey, I'm not a hack. Throws another great pass to Tuff McLean, who makes a tough catch there in the end zone for the touchdown. Now the Lions offense would decide after the two-point conversion for Northwestern State that ties it up. The Lions offense decides they've had enough. They step on the gas pedal. Allo to Acker for his second touchdown catch of the game. Southeastern now with a 7-point lead in the fourth quarter, trying to hang on. Hack exploits some zone coverage from the Lions and picks up a first down for his team. And they end up kicking a field goal there with Eric Piccione. However, the Lions offense would not go quietly into the night. Roberts calls a double reverse flea flicker here, and Allo hits his man for a 29-yard gain. Dangerous play, but it worked out for the Lions with a little bit of trickery. Now, Northwestern State's defense would stay strong and holds the Lions to a field goal, so it's 31-24. Now, Northwestern State's running back Chris Jones tries to make up for the fumble by fumbling a second time, and it's recovered by Southeastern. They kick another field goal here. Jonathan Tatum just barely making it over the crossbar. Now the score is 34-24, and the Lions defense would hold on to that lead for those 2 minutes, and the Lions win. Justin Allo with a really big game, 251 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, and senior receiver Brandon Acker had a good game, hauling in 2 touchdown catches for the Lions. The first win is always the toughest. For the Lions, a home victory against the Demons gave them a good start in conference play. I was able to take a closer look at how the Southeastern offense performed against the Demons.
The Lions offense was unyielding and nearly unstoppable in the Lions home opener against the Northwestern State Demons. The team put up a gaudy amount of 539 total yards in a thrilling offensive shootout between the two teams. The offense was led by senior quarterback Justin Allo, who had provided a spark of intensity for the Lions. In just his second start as a quarterback for the Lions, Allo amassed 251 passing yards and 3 passing touchdowns, along with a completion rating of 65%. Allo led the offense on touchdown drives on their first 2 possessions of the game. The Lions were able to jump out to a 21-6 lead at the half, but the Demons mounted a furious comeback in the third quarter to tie the score at 21. Then, Lions head coach Ron Roberts decided to step on the gas pedal and wouldn't let up as the Lions retook the lead and held on to it for the rest of the game. Although Allo was the main playmaker of the night, he didn't do it all alone. Receivers Juwan Dickey and Brandon Acker were Allo's main targets of the night. Junior Juwan Dickey grabbed 4 passes for 96 yards and a touchdown. Senior Brandon Acker continued his strong start to the season with 4 catches for 90 yards and 2 touchdowns. Acker also hauled in a 42-yard diving catch that was spotted just half a yard from the end zone. The Lions' run game was just as strong as the passing game, racking up 288 total rushing yards. The three-headed monster of Rashid Harrell, Julius Marcelin, and Kalen Henderson were assisted on the ground by Allo, who ran for 91 yards on the ground. Rashid Harrell had a huge game, carrying the ball 16 times for 124 yards, which marked the senior's first 100-yard game since 2013. Kalen Henderson grinded out 32 yards on the ground, and sophomore running back Julius Marcelin pounded the ball into the end zone for his first rushing score of the season. The success the Lions had running the ball allowed the team to play a little bit more aggressive and stretch the ball downfield more than usual.
For a second week in a row, the Lions offense has performed exceptionally well. Justin Allo continues to have a breakout senior season, the MVP of the game. The Lions ended up beating Northwestern at their home 34-24 and now go 1-0 in the conference. Their next matchup will be at Lamar, their second conference matchup of their season. For the big game, I'm Richie Rolares.
On the 10th anniversary of the iconic Steve Gleason punt block against the Falcons to reopen the Superdome after Hurricane Katrina, the Saints and the Falcons squared off once again on Monday Night Football. Two elite quarterbacks in Drew Brees and Matt Ryan looking to take control of the NFC South. The game featured former Lion Robert Alford, a cornerback for the Falcons. Let's go to the highlights. Here we go, Dirty Birds versus the New Orleans Saints. Let's start it off with a little trickery. As you see, Mark Ingram tossed the flea flicker back to Brees, who finds Brandon Coleman on the side for the first down. Now, that was a nice play, but this is even a better play as Brees finds Colby Fleener in the end zone for the touchdown, giving the Saints the first score of the game. Now, this play right here had fans at home shaking their heads like, what is going on? You see Devontae Harris plow through Tommy Lee Lewis, touch the ball, give it right back to the Falcons, who now have good field position and a chance to score. Falcons waste little time in capitalizing, punching the ball through with running back Tevin Coleman. Start of the second, they say why not, toss it to Devontae Freeman and watch him accelerate to the goal. Brees finds Michael Thomas on a slant route for the smooth touchdown. Man, you gotta love seeing that. Saints fans love it, but the Falcons say, watch out. Devontae Freeman slices through the defense, makes people miss. Man, that guy has some wheels on him. Goes down after the large run, and then why not? Coleman punch it in again, has one already, was wrong for another one. Matt Ryan, I love him, tosses up to Hardy, who finds the middle of the field, and then in the red zone, see Ryan take the snap, shuffle pass it to Greg Hardy, who extends for 6. The play was reviewed, but in the end, they kept it a touchdown. 22 seconds left, second quarter, more than enough time for Brees, right? Fans certainly think so as he finds Fleener down the middle. Now this play, Will Lutz nails the 57-yarder to make the score 17-28 by halftime. See Ryan drop back, looking, doesn't see anything really. So why not give it to the man, Freeman, who has no problem just slicing through the defense. 4th and 1, you think, shove it up the middle, right? Wrong. Find the wide open Coleman so he can prance down the sideline and get in the red zone. 1st and goal, hand it off to Coleman and let him do what he does best. Another score for the Falcons. Brees says enough is enough, we have to do something. Finds Cadet on the side. First down, you think pass. Saints say run, give it to John Kuhn as he plows in for 6. Now Brees dropping back is normally a good thing, and right here it is, finding Coleman for the first down. Drops back again, good things happen. Well, not this time. Deion Jones gets the pick and returns it 90 yards for the touchdown. Look at him go, folks. He'll get there eventually. Oh, well, you know, he just got there. See Brees drops back, gotta find somebody. What do you know? Finds Fleener down the middle for the big gain and good field position. Man, I wish he could do this on fantasy. Brees tosses it to Ingram, who says, leave it all to me, finds his way into the end zone to give the Saints some more points. Defense finally finding their mojo, gets the sack of Matt Ryan. Could have used more of that in the first half, but better late than never, some say. Breeze dropping back. Finds Fleener again. My goodness, the connection between these two was unreal this game. Breeze sees nobody, says get off me, scramble, slide. Not the prettiest play, but it could have been worse. Atlanta hands it off to Devontae Freeman, who says why not? One last time. You see the stats here. Freeman just a beast off the leash. You see Drew, good stats, 376 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. However, it wasn't enough to carry the Saints in this matchup against the Falcons.
With the Saints falling to 0-3 on the season, they currently sit at dead last in the NFC South Division. At the Superdome Monday night, I was able to observe firsthand how the Falcons beat the Saints.
The New Orleans Saints welcomed the Atlanta Falcons into the Superdome on Monday Night Football, and the Falcons took the opportunity of playing in a primetime game to showcase their talent by dismantling their bitter rival. The Saints started off hot by scoring on the very first possession of the game. The defense then held the Falcons on a 3rd down and forced them to punt. But the blunders began there for the Saints when Saints cornerback Devontae Harris ran into his own punt returner, causing the Saints to fumble the ball. The Falcons quickly recovered and scored on the ensuing drive, and once they took the lead, the Saints were never really able to catch up. Drew Brees got the Saints offense up and running early, and he actually outproduced the Falcons offense in first downs, total yardage, and time of possession. Brees threw for 376 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. However, he made a very costly mistake in the 4th quarter. Brees and the Saints were down by just 13 points and were knocking on the red zone when Falcons rookie linebacker Deion Jones from LSU picked off Brees and returned it 90 yards for a touchdown, which ended any hope of a Saints comeback. Mark Ingram had his best rushing performance of the season so far with 77 rushing yards on 15 carries, a feat he praised his offensive line for.
These guys have been playing lights out since the beginning of the year. The first couple games we just haven't, we didn't run it that much. This game, we had an emphasis on the run game, and these guys have been creating holes, creating seams to run through every single week. I applaud them. There's times, man, they do a great job, man.
Matt Ryan and the Falcons offense looked like surgeons on the field, systematically dissecting a Saints defense that was already banged up, missing 5 of their defensive starters.
What's going on? I do know that we have the next man up mentality, and I do think some of the corners played well tonight. That being said, it's on us to play those boots. It's on us to play that cut back from a low running back. We have to do a better job of playing our technique.
The defensive line was completely unable to produce any kind of pass rush from the edges, as Matt Ryan threw for 240 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ryan was also allowed to scramble out of the pocket and pick up a few big first downs for his team. Surprisingly, the Saints secondary held All-Pro wideout Julio Jones to just 1 catch for 16 yards. However, the Falcons found another way to carve up the Saints defense by using a dangerous combo of running backs in Tevin Coleman and Devonta Freeman. Coleman, a back with blinding speed, had 42 rushing yards along with 3 rushing touchdowns. Freeman, who has an uncanny agility and vision hitting the holes, had 152 rushing yards and 55 receiving yards.
The night of the Saints' 10th year anniversary of the famous Steve Gleason punt that sparked hope in the city of New Orleans, once again, the Atlanta Falcons came into the Superdome and beat the Saints down. They scored 45 points on the Saints, and 296 of those total yards came from just 2 players, the dynamic running back duo of Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman. The Saints will next line up against the San Diego Chargers next weekend. For the big game, I'm Richie. Before their rival game against the Falcons on Monday night, the Saints traveled to the Meadowlands to take on the New York Giants. Last year's matchup was a barn burner, with Eli Manning throwing 6 touchdowns and Breeze beating him out by throwing 7 in the Saints' 52-49 victory. As our own Freddie Rosario tells us, this year's matchup didn't have quite as many fireworks.
After a heartbreaking loss to end the season opener, the New Orleans Saints looked to get their first win of the season against the New York Giants. But seems like the Saints' offense didn't make the trip out to the Meadowlands. In Week 1, Drew Brees and the offense were a Lamborghini, driving up and down the field. A fast-paced, quick-strike offense that couldn't be stopped, racking up 507 total yards. But against the Giants, the offense turned into a broke-down Volkswagen Beetle. In an attempt to avoid another back-and-forth, high-scoring game, the Saints' offense slowed to a near crawl, totaling 288 yards and another poor performance running the ball with just 41 yards on the ground. The Saints' offense scored a single touchdown that came in the fourth quarter. On the first 5 drives of the game, not a single drive lasted longer than 5 plays, and the offense was 0-5 on third down plays. The Saints' first scoring opportunity came with 2:30 left in the second quarter. Kicker Will Lutz lined up for a 39-yard field goal that was blocked by the Giants' Janoris Jenkins and taken back 65 yards for a touchdown. While the defense has been a scapegoat in many Saints losses in the past couple years, in the loss against the Giants, the defense kept the Saints in the game while the offense struggled. Eli Manning and the Giants turned the ball over 3 times on 3 forced fumbles by the Saints, but Brees and the offense didn't score any points off any of the turnovers forced by the defense. Near the start of the fourth quarter, the Saints offense had a 9-play, 74-yard drive that ended with a 17-yard touchdown pass to Willie Snead to tie the score at 10. After an exchange of field goals, the Giants drove down the field to kick the game-winning field goal to beat the Saints 16-13. The ground game for the Saints rushed for 41 yards, and Brees and the offense struggled on third down, converting on 3 of 13 attempts. A complete game of both the offense and defense will be needed for the Saints to right the ship and challenge for a playoff spot in the NFC South Division. For the big game, I'm Freddie Rosario.
Coming up after the break, we'll take a look at the soccer, tennis, volleyball, and golf teams. You won't want to miss this on the big game.
Welcome back to the big game. The Lady Lions soccer team has begun a stretch of 11 straight Southland Conference matchups as they look to defend their Southland Conference title. Let's check in with John Sartori to see how the Lady Lions are doing at the start of conference play.
The story of the Southeastern soccer team thus far can be summed up in one word: disappointing. Following a non-conference slate that saw as many wins as losses, the Lady Lions headed into their Southland Conference schedule with a chip on their shoulder. But after winning their conference opener against McNeese, the Lady Lions have lost 2 games in a row and now sit at 4-6-1 with 8 games remaining before the Southland Conference tournament. The Lady Lions will play half of those contests in the friendly confines of Strawberry Stadium as they look to improve on their current 6th place position in the conference. There is reason for optimism for Lion fans despite the slow start. The Lady Lion team that won the Southland Conference tournament last year finished the regular season in 4th place. For the big game, I'm John Sartori.
After winning its opener, the Lady Lions volleyball team has yet to record another victory on the season. Reporter Dylan Domain went to Southeastern's first home conference game of the season against the Lamar Cardinals to see if the Lady Lions could come away with the victory.
The Lady Lions volleyball team opened up Southland Conference play at home against the Lamar Cardinals. Getting the game started, freshman standout Chloe Holden got one of her team-leading 14 kills of the game. Lamar would respond, though, as they would keep the first set close to the very end. But Southeastern was able to hold off Lamar as the Lions were able to win the first set 26-24. The Lady Cardinals would be able to respond as junior Chelsea Grant helped Lamar get their first set win with a field for 13 kills of the game as Lamar would win 25-18. Both teams would stay competitive as they got another set victory, tying the score at 2 heading into the 5th and final set. Here, the Lady Lions gained momentum and never looked back as Southeastern would win the set 15-9 and won the match 3-2. After the game, senior Maddie Odom talked about her team's performance.
Well, we have a lot of tough teams in our conference, and this was a good win for us, but we need to make sure we battle every single day and come into practice hard, and we focus on all the other teams that are in our conference because I think we have a really good shot, and so this win really helps us, and it's going to really help us in the long run for conference play.
For the big game, I'm Dylan Domain.
The Lady Lions tennis team finished last season with a record of 14-9, getting eliminated in the conference tournament quarterfinals. I visited with the team recently to gauge their expectations for this upcoming season. Coming up short on the road to a conference championship leaves the team wondering what can they do better. With the new season upon them, the Southeastern tennis team looks to answer that question.
Well, we've got more girls that have to step up. Renee and Margot were fantastic, and you can make an argument Renee was the best player that's ever played at Southeastern, and she's gone. So we have to have somebody, or not one person, we need to have a bunch of them step up to fill the void that she has, not just on court, but in the classroom and as a leader. And we've got a great group, and I'm as thrilled as could be to work with these girls.
I think this year, the whole team is committed 100%. We know that we have to give 100% each point, each ball, since Renee's not here and she was normally the number one and winning all the time. So we know this year we have to fully commit.
The Lady Lions tennis team returns a lot of old faces from last year's squad, as well as some new faces. But a face that is no longer there for the team is that of all Southland Conference selection, Renee Villarreal.
I mean, obviously it's hard to lose a good player as Renee, but we have to just know that we have to work even harder. We have the talent, but we have to show it every point and every match. We cannot just relax a point and be oh, it's okay for me to lose this point. It's no, I'm gonna go and win this point.
At the ULM Fall Tournament, the Lions took the top spot in doubles play through the efforts of juniors Delana Dahlman and Flora Holtkamp.
We were really confident because we know each other really well from junior tennis, so that made us feel really good on the court. We connected really well, and I think we did great. The spirit was good. Yeah, we just kept attacking the ball no matter if we won or lost the point, and I really think that got us to the victory.
Now you can see the Lions in action again on August 30th at the ULL Ragin' Cajun Classic. For the big game, I'm Jordan Rheams. Former Lions baseball player Steve Clevenger had his season cut short for the Seattle Mariners after a series of controversial tweets about the Black Lives Matter movement and President Obama. Clevenger's comments were in response to the recent unrest in Charlotte, North Carolina about the most recent incident of police violence. The Mariners suspended Clevenger for the rest of the season without pay. It's the first suspension of a player for speaking out on a social issue in the United States. Clevenger later issued an apology, calling his tweets beyond poorly worded and just wanting to be a part of the dialogue to try to make this world a better place for everyone. Clevenger was batting .221 in 22 games for the Mariners in his first year with the organization.
Coming up after the break, we'll bring our guest expert Colton Vickers to the desk to discuss Southeastern football, the New Orleans Saints, Jose Fernandez, and early Heisman picks during Pick and Roll. The big game will be right back.
The Southeastern channel offers a lot for sports fans.
Coaches shows, interviews with student athletes.
Football games, baseball games, basketball games.
I enjoy watching the coaches' insight programs after online tracks because it does give our fans an insight of what happened during the game.
I enjoy watching the big game. It gives me an opportunity to keep up with Southeastern athletics on a weekly basis. Not just football, baseball, basketball, but even the smaller sports, like soccer and volleyball.
One of the things I've enjoyed most through the years watching is the production of the glory years.
It's a history, it's a documentation of where we've come from around here.
Solidified the reason why we brought Southeastern football back.
When the Southeastern channel replays games, it helps the students be able to catch up and see what's going on.
I like to watch the baseball games and the football games.
It's the only time I get to watch Southeastern football is I get to see it on television. I don't ever have time to go.
Even athletics can be an educational experience when you involve the Southeastern channel.
Welcome back to the big game. It is now our favorite part of the show, Pick and Roll. I'm your host, Richie, joined by Jordan Rheams and our guest expert, Colton. Colton, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So, guys, we're going to start out with a little football. It is football season, but we'll talk about Southeastern Lions. They've looked a lot better from last year in just the 3 games. What do you think, Colton? What do you think so far?
I'm still not totally sure about the Lions this year. They played a good Oklahoma State team, but that Oklahoma State team's lost a couple games here lately, and then they just lost to Southern Utah a couple weeks ago, and it was a close game. And I liked the way that the Lions were able to fight and stay in that game to a good Southern Utah team. They struggled with Northwestern, which concerns me because I don't believe that Northwestern's a very good team right now. So the Lions are still kind of like up in the air for me as to whether will they win the Southland. I'm not sure yet. So,
Jordan, their defense has looked a little shaky. They've created some turnovers, but they've given up a good amount of points through the first 3 weeks of the season. What do you think they need to do to correct the mistakes?
To correct the mistakes, Richie, I think it's more of a mental aspect than everything. You see some guys miss coverages, poor assignments. The defense has pieces to be successful, but they need the mentality as well. I think it's still early. The season's still going on. They've played 3 games. They're going to get it together, and by week 7, I think we should see a big improvement, and they should be able to right the ship.
Yeah, they definitely need to correct the mistakes on defense, but I think the biggest thing is the improvements that they have made on the offense. I mean, Justin Allo looks like a new man. He looks really good. Brandon Acker has had a very strong start to the season, and they love their new offensive coordinator, Matt Barrett. Coach Roberts has just praised him. So now, going on to the New Orleans Saints. They actually have something in common with the Browns, the Jaguars, and the Bears, and that is the fact that they are 0-3. Do they really deserve to be in that company, Colton? What do you think?
I don't believe so. I think that the Saints are the best 0-3 team right now. All their losses have been close. The Falcons was probably the biggest loss of the season. It was a disappointing loss because they were in that game until Drew Brees threw that interception, and then the loss to the Raiders probably hurts the worst because they had that opportunity, time management. Just if they can get some stuff worked out, the Saints are a good team. And defensive wise, everyone's saying the defense is awful, and it's the secondary. No, it's the D line was pitiful. They got ran over all night by Devonta Freeman and Coleman from the Falcons, and Matt Ryan even ran on them. The secondary held their own. They held Julio Jones to 1 catch the whole game. It shouldn't be, the D-line is atrocious right now, and they need to get that worked out.
Yeah, I think you hit the head on the nail with that. The defensive line can not create any pressure in Matt Ryan, and opposing quarterbacks just have all day to throw. Now, Jordan, they are 0-1 in division play, with the Falcons sitting on top at 2-1, but we see that the Panthers are now 1-2 overall. You think the Saints have any shot of competing for the division title?
I know the Saints are the favorites, but I think they have no shot whatsoever. I think it's time to start looking towards the future for life after Breeze, the defense. I'm sorry, it's like watching the high school out there sometimes. It's so terrible. Breeze makes this team. He's done so much for the city, and I really respect him, but it's really time to start looking towards the future. He can't play forever, and I think fans don't want to accept that, but you're 0-3. Like, it's time to start accepting that.
I agree with Jordan here. The life after the Drew Brees era is starting to come, I believe. Maybe even the Sean Payton era is coming to an end. Everyone's saying, "Oh, Rob Ryan was the problem." Well, we're still having issues, and maybe it's a Rob Ryan is too stubborn to find a new way to win, and we'll see.
Well, I'll say this much about the Drew Brees era coming to an end: as long as Sean Payton is in New Orleans, Drew Brees will be in New Orleans. And as long as Drew Brees is there, they're going to be in a win-now mode. But they're not. They need to start rebuilding. He has no defense, but they have a Hall of Fame quarterback at the helm, and Payton just wants to drive the point across that he still thinks they can win. Now, over to some sadder news. Florida Marlins pitcher Jose Fernandez passed away this past week in a boating accident. Colton, what does this send to Sports Nation? What does it mean to his team family?
Anytime you lose a teammate or anybody in general, it's always tragic. I think the Marlins, we saw photos today of the funeral, and the entire team was walking behind at the funeral, walking behind his casket. I think the Marlins might use this as motivation, in the future, going on to into October. So, yeah.
And Jordan is so young. So many people look at these guys as idols. They're athletes. They're celebrities, but deep down, they're still human beings. I mean, Mr. Fernandez, he had a family. So what kind of impact does this have on family, but I mean friends and teammates too? What can that do to a person?
It just reminds us, Richie, that, you know, life is short. I mean, he was only 24. He's not that much older than us. To see something like this happen, it's always sad, but it always reminds you have to enjoy life to the fullest while you have it. I'm truly sad to see him go. I was starting to become a fan of baseball and of him, and I just really can't get the words out because this loss really hit me.
Yeah, I have to say one of the most heartbreaking things about the story to me was that they had some text that came out when he was on the boat, and they were saying, you know, be safe, and something like this ended up happening. So now over to a little bit more fun of a discussion. Lamar Jackson has been tearing the NCAA up. He's the next Michael Vick. That's what everyone is saying. He's going to win the Heisman. How about early Heisman picks, not Lamar Jackson, because he's not the only one in the running. Colton, who do you think is going to take it?
How do you expect me to do that? That's so hard. But if you're making me do this, I guess not biased. I know y'all know I'm partial to Alabama. I think Jalen Hurts is a sleeper.
Really?
I don't think he'll win it this year, but I think he'll make that top 5 or top 3. He's great. Absolutely, he can run the ball. He'll run over you. Like, he's not scared to run through you. He's got some size to him, and he's got a strong arm. And he's got several key weapons. And Ardarius Stewart, who's injured right now, but I believe he'll be back, and Calvin Ridley. So don't sleep on Jalen Hurts. Not saying he's going to win it this year, but he'll make up in that. He'll pop up in that top 5 or 3, I think.
Yeah, it's hard to say that a freshman has a really good chance. He is with a great team, but he's just so young. Jordan, are you going to go with someone a little bit older, someone a little bit more experienced?
Richie, I'm going with Deshaun Watson. I know he hasn't been making that much noise lately, but I feel like he's going to get right back on track. He's going to be the quote-unquote Cam Newton of football, as some call him, and I really think he has a shot to win it.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson's really good. He's with the 5th ranked nationally team with Clemson, but they've struggled offensively to put together points, and they've got some tough matchups, so I'll have to play against Louisville. I'm actually going to go with someone a little bit more electric, Christian McCaffrey. He comes from football lineage. His father was Ed McCaffrey, a starting receiver for the Denver Broncos back in the early 2000s. But Christian, last season, he led the NCAA in all-purpose yards. He set the record. He can do everything, run, catch, even throw a little bit. Not too much, but you might see him on a little running back pass. But I think he has all the tools to succeed in the college level and the pros. Now, we're going to go to a new segment that we like to call Quick Hits. And we're all going to take a little look at something going on in the sports world and give you our opinion on it. So I'll start. So the Oakland Raiders, for the past 2 seasons now, have been thinking about moving to Las Vegas. And I have a little bit of a problem with it. Las Vegas, first of all, has never had a successful sports franchise. And in Oakland, they are a storied franchise. I mean, they won multiple Super Bowl, have all kinds of Hall of Famers. Everyone knows the Al Davis-driven, just win baby Raiders. They have so much history in Oakland. You know, John Madden, a legendary head coach who became an NFL broadcaster. But it's not just that. The biggest problem with Oakland is that the Raiders don't have their own stadium. They're still playing in the A's stadium, which is a little run down. They want their own stadium. The city of Oakland can't figure out how to budget to build a new stadium. Las Vegas desperately wants the Raiders. It would be huge for them to have a big sports franchise like them. And they've proposed a $1.9 billion stadium. Could you imagine what that's going to look like? It's going to be the greatest stadium in the NFL. The problem is Las Vegas itself, the city. We know that it is a party city. And the Oakland Raiders are a young team. We've seen Roger Goodell crack down on players outside of the NFL with some of their behavior. If you send a team to Las Vegas, maybe not during the season, but outside of the season, outside of practice and games, the players are going to want to go have fun. And that's where they could get in trouble. We've seen there's so much alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and Roger Goodell really cracks down on that. Now you put gambling into the equation, and it just doesn't mix. I personally think that the Oakland Raiders should stay in Oakland, but they do have to find a way to pay for that new stadium. So now, Jordan, you have a quick little insight about the new Warriors team.
New look Warriors. We all know Kevin Durant joined the Warriors this offseason. Personally, I wasn't a big fan of the move, but after watching them practice, they're going to be entertaining to watch. You have Steph, Clay, Kevin, most likely Draymond at power forward. This team is going to be compared to the 72-10 Bulls, but Draymond already said he doesn't want to win 74, 75 games because that is brutal, and we saw that in the finals. It took a toll on their body, and they could not finish. Now, KD, he's going to take a lot of heat. That OKC matchup, the first one of the season, it's going to be probably one of the most watched games this year, but I feel like the Golden State Warriors can beat the Cavaliers in the NBA Finals, and we all know Cleveland's going to the NBA Finals because the East is weak. I'm sorry, it's the truth. Colton?
Well, my topic is the taking a knee in the national anthem. It's very controversial right now. Personally, I believe that using a football team as a way to protest, which some people don't even call it a protest, but as a way to protest the injustice that's going on, which there is, there's, regardless of your view, there are injustices. I just don't believe that using a football team and a logo, a brand, to protest is the right way to do it. I think it's disrespectful to, the United States and all those who's fought for it. Is it his right to do it? Absolutely. I mean, I can't stop him, but I think that it's just not the right way to do it. I love what Jerry Jones said. He said, "You're an actor on my stage, and if you don't want to behave the way I want you to as my employee or actor, you can find a new place to act." So, like I said, there's nothing, we can't stop him from doing it because it's his right. The only way you could do it is go back to where I believe it was before 2009, the players didn't even go out for the national anthem. They stayed in the locker room. Southeastern, even they don't come out of the locker room until after the national anthem is played. So I believe personally that's the best way to control this issue. So.
Well, it's all really interesting topics, and hopefully we'll get to see what plays out through the rest of the year. That will do it for this episode of The Big Game. For more information on Lions athletics, you can log into www.lionsports.net. For Colton Vickers and Jordan Rheams, I'm Richie Rolares. We hope to see you here next time, right here on The Big Game.